There are things a police dog never unlearns. The scent of guilt, the sound of a lie, the low electric hum in the air when something is deeply, fundamentally wrong. Trooper had been retired for 4 years, and his body knew it. His back legs were stiff with arthritis, and his left eye was clouded over with age, but the part of him that was a K9 was still very much on duty. His instincts had never been decommissioned. I, on the other hand, was 2 hours off shift and wanted nothing more than a quiet walk and a hot coffee. My instincts were telling me to go home. His were telling him to go to war. The park was quiet that evening, the kind of suburban calm that usually settles your soul after a long day. Streetlights had just begun to flicker on across Maple Lane as we made our way toward the library. That's when Trooper stopped cold. He wasn't looking at a squirrel or another dog. His entire focus, every ounce of his being, was aimed at a grimy city trash can 10 feet away. He pulled against the leash, not with the playful tug of a pet, but with the dead-weight certainty of a working dog on a scent. "Hey, let's go, buddy," I said, giving the leash a gentle tug. "It's trash. You don't need to." He didn't budge. Instead, a low, steady growl rumbled in his chest. It wasn't a bark for attention. It was a warning. He dug his paws in, scratching so hard at the metal bin that it screeched, his nose buried against the lid as if he were chasing the ghost of a crime. A prickle of unease ran up my spine. I'd seen that posture 1,000 times before at active crime scenes, but never here. Never in the 4 years since he'd hung up his vest. Sighing, I dropped the leash and unlatched the bin. "All right, old boy," I muttered. "Let's see what has you so spooked." The stink hit me first. Old sandwiches and sour milk. But beneath it was something else. Something metallic and wrong. My eyes scanned the contents until they landed on it. A gray hoodie, folded in on itself as if shoved in a hurry. I almost dismissed it, but then I saw the sleeve. It was darkened with a brownish-red smear that wasn't ketchup. Blood. Dried blood. My mind didn't go to a common street fight. It went straight to a cold file in the third-floor archive. Lily Ann Reed. 17 years old. Vanished 9 months ago near this very park. Last seen wearing a gray hoodie. I knew what the station would say if I called it in. "It's nothing, Kate. Probably a squirrel bite." But my gut, and Trooper's unwavering certainty, screamed otherwise. I bagged the hoodie myself, using a pen to lift it, an old habit I was suddenly thankful for. Trooper gave a single, satisfied huff and sat beside me, his job for the moment done. That night, I didn't sleep. The evidence bag sat on my kitchen table, a silent accusation in the dark. Could this really be it? After all this time? The next evening, I took Trooper back to the park, not for a walk, but for a search. He bypassed the trash can completely. This time, he led me with purpose toward the chain-link fence separating the park from the town maintenance lot. He stopped, his body went rigid, and he lunged toward a patch of thorny bushes behind a low wall. He began scratching furiously at the dirt. My heart pounded as I knelt and pulled back the brambles. Stuffed between 2 stones, I found a partially burned glove, its fingertips singed black. Another piece of a puzzle someone desperately wanted to stay scattered. Trooper had found more than trash. He'd found a voice that had been silent for far too long. 2 clues. It wasn't a coincidence anymore. It was a trail, and Trooper was the one sniffing it out. My first stop was an old military surplus shop near the train tracks, the kind of place that sold cheap, durable gear. The owner, a gruff man named Hank, recognized the photo of the hoodie immediately. He told me about a skinny kid who used to buy them in bulk, a loner who creeped out his staff and drove a rusty red pickup truck, That was the piece I needed, a tangible detail in a case full of ghosts. Back at the precinct, I ran a search for red pickups with recent damage citations in the area. One name popped up: Caleb Finch. As his file loaded on my screen, my phone buzzed with an email from the Oak Ridge lab. I opened it, my heart pounding. DNA match confirmed. The blood on the hoodie belongs to Lily Ann Reed. The words hit me like a physical blow. It was real. All of it. The suspicion, Trooper's instinct, the cold dread in my gut. It was all horribly real. Before I could get a warrant, I took Trooper out one last time, trusting him more than any report. He led me deep into the overgrown woods behind the park, to a mossy log most people would never look at twice. He started digging. Beneath it was a small metal box. Inside, I found Lily's silver bracelet and a torn photo, along with a shaky, handwritten note. She shouldn't have fought back. That night I saw Caleb leaving his house with a black duffel bag. I followed him to the old, abandoned quarry. When I confronted him with what I knew, he ran. He was fast, but Trooper was faster. The dog didn't harm him. He just cornered him, barking fiercely until I arrived with my cuffs ready. As I read him his rights under the cold moonlight, a wave of relief washed over me. I thought, it's over. We finally got him. I had never been more wrong in my life. The feeling of closing a case like that is a clean, sharp relief. I had Caleb Finch in custody, and for 12 solid hours, I let myself believe that justice for Lily Ann Reed was finally within reach. I had the confession note, the physical evidence, and a suspect who looked guilty as sin. The illusion shattered with a single-page report that landed on my desk the next morning. It was the analysis of the burned glove Trooper had found behind the gas station. The partial fingerprint recovered from the inside wasn't a match for Caleb Finch. It belonged to his former co-worker from the industrial laundry, a man with a violent past named Darren Sykes. My entire case pivoted on its axis. Caleb wasn't the monster. He was a terrified pawn, a witness who had been coerced or threatened into silence. I went back to the interrogation room and didn't say a word. I just slid Darren's mugshot across the table. Caleb flinched, a tiny, almost imperceptible movement, but it was all the confirmation I needed. His silence wasn't defiance. It was pure, abject fear. He was covering for someone far more dangerous than himself. That night, my phone rang with an unknown number. The voice was a gravelly whisper, tight with menace. You're digging up things that should have stayed buried. It wasn't a question. It was a threat. Darren knew I was close, and he was watching me. The next day, armed with a new warrant and a new target, I took Trooper to the abandoned laundry plant. The air was thick with the ghosts of old machinery and mildew. I didn't have to tell Trooper what to look for. He already knew. He led me straight to a fire-damaged storage room in the back, scratching insistently at a loose panel in the concrete floor. Beneath it was a sealed plastic container. My heart pounded as I opened it. Inside, I found Lily's journal and the small, heart-shaped necklace her mother had described in her very first interview. The final, heartbreaking pieces of her life, hidden by her killer. With the evidence we needed, we tracked Darren Sykes to his cousin's secluded house north of town. The moment he saw my cruiser pull up the dirt road, he ran. He bolted from the back porch and crashed into the dense woods. "Trooper, go!" I yelled, my voice sharp in the cold air. The dog was a blur of black and tan, a missile of pure instinct surging through the undergrowth. He overtook Darren in seconds, not biting, but masterfully cutting him off, herding him back toward me with furious, deafening barks. I caught up, my sidearm drawn. Darren stumbled and fell to his knees, defeated. "I didn't mean to kill her," he gasped between ragged breaths. But the story was over. The lies were done. With Darren Sykes's confession, the lies were indeed done. He would spend the rest of his life behind bars for the murder of Lily Ann Reed. Caleb Finch, for his part, received a lighter sentence for his full cooperation, a second chance he seemed determined not to waste. But the most important justice wasn't served in a courtroom. It was served in the quiet living room of the Jensen family when I returned Lily's small, heart-shaped necklace. Her mother clutched it to her chest, tears of grief and gratitude finally allowed to fall freely. "Thank you," her father whispered, his hand on my arm. "Thank you for not giving up on her." The town didn't forget its hero. A week later, they held a ceremony at City Hall. Trooper, wearing his old polished K9 badge, patiently accepted the new medal for valor pinned to his collar. As the cameras flashed and the crowd applauded, I knelt beside him, my hand on his back. He didn't understand the medals or the speeches, but he understood the pride in my voice as I whispered, "You brought her home, partner. You did it." He just leaned into my touch, and that was more than enough. In the years that followed, I took a new position as the county's K9 liaison, mentoring young officers and their dogs, teaching them to trust the instincts that technology could never replace. Trooper enjoyed a long and peaceful retirement, filled with sunny naps under the willow tree and slow, happy walks by the creek. Then, one quiet Tuesday morning, he didn't come to the kitchen for his breakfast. I found him curled up in his favorite spot in the backyard, having passed away peacefully in his sleep. I sat with him for a long time, my hand resting on his soft fur, whispering all the things I hadn't needed to say aloud. They held a memorial for him, an honor not many dogs receive. But Trooper wasn't just any dog. Sometimes when I walk through the park on a quiet morning, I'll pause near that trash can. I can still hear it, the determined scratch of his paws, the low growl that changed everything. Some heroes make a lot of noise. The greatest one I ever knew simply left silent paw prints for me to follow, leading us all toward the light. The story of Officer Morgan and Trooper offers a powerful lesson on where true value lies, especially in the chapters of life that come after a formal career has ended. Trooper was retired, his eyes cloudy and his legs stiff, but his most essential quality, his unwavering instinct, was sharper than ever. He reminds us that our worth is not defined by a job title, our youth, or our physical strength. The wisdom, loyalty, and intuition we cultivate over a lifetime do not simply retire with us. They deepen, becoming a quiet, potent force that can still perceive truths that others may miss. Furthermore, the story is a testament to the importance of listening, not just with our ears, but with our hearts. Officer Morgan's breakthrough came not from a new piece of technology, but from her ultimate decision to trust the silent, insistent communication of her old partner. In our own lives, how often do we dismiss a gut feeling, honed by decades of experience, because it doesn't fit a modern, logical narrative? Trooper teaches us to honor that inner voice and the unspoken wisdom of those we trust. Ultimately, this is a story about legacy. It suggests that our most significant contributions may not be the ones that earned us accolades in our prime, but the quiet acts of loyalty and persistence that bring closure, healing, and justice when no one else is looking. It is a beautiful and profound reminder that it is never too late to make a difference, and that sometimes the greatest heroes are simply the ones who refuse to let a good instinct go to waste.